Welcome, five-time world champion Vishy Anand, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And we have one of your own WACA students create history and become the youngest world champion in history. Your thoughts on that?
It still feels somewhat unreal. I mean, if you take not the match only, but even the whole journey, essentially his struggle was before. Once he qualified by the FIDE circuit in the Chennai Masters, it's been surprisingly smooth. So candidates, one bump, but he was still very much in contention, and we saw that he won. And then the World Championship, where uh, till the very end, it looked like it might go into a tiebreak. But a couple of moments, it looked like he was putting a lot of pressure, doing very well. I thought Ding would weaken, but Ding played incredibly well. And what a nice finish and history being made. But it's always, I keep saying that when history happens in 5 minutes, then it's even more crazy than when you see it coming a long way.
And we had you on our stream, and you said there's a 0.27% chance. Was it because of Gukesh pushing, or you just thought there might be a result possible?
No, it's just this is the law of chess that one side is pushing, the other side is making concessions. It's a bad sign. Nothing about the position says anything, but it's a bad sign. And I thought I should give myself a little insurance. So I plucked a number out of thin air and I put it. But as it turned out, it was good insurance.
Absolutely. And today, Gukesh arrived in Chennai and was mobbed at the airport. How was your reception when you came back home after your first world title?
It was fantastic. Then I came back to Delhi 1st and was taken to Rashtrapati Bhavan, all that. In the subsequent championships, I was received in Chennai, and of course, each time was spectacular. The first time was a chariot ride through the city. A couple of days later, big public felicitations and all that. So, yeah, very special moments.
And any memories you have from your first title, and which out of the five was your favorite?
I don't have a favorite really. I mean, you is there anyone I would rather not have had? Of course not. I'll take all of them. But for me, the matches I felt happiest with afterwards, also because of my play and the general feeling, was Delhi. So the first three, Delhi, Mexico, and Bonn. All three were very, very good efforts, very good performances. That was nice. The next two were mainly relief.
All right. And coming to Gukesh, your first memory of meeting Guki?
So I met him in a chess class that I gave. So you've seen when people are unearthing all this stuff. It's very nice. I definitely met him at home. There's a photo of him and Prague at my thing. And I might have met him before that, but nothing springs to mind. And then, well, he was a small. I mean, the most impressive thing was that at that age he was already a grandmaster. So was Prague. And when you analyze, they're already doing it at a high level. But I knew they're very good, but I expect that Gukesh would be world champion at 18. No, I didn't. It caught me by surprise as well, just how quickly he signed off on it.
Yeah. And after that, Gukesh was a part of WACA. And how did that help shape his career?
Hopefully, he benefited from my guidance. I mean, I had some early conversations. In the beginning, he was attending all our classes very enthusiastically. He really seemed hungry for these classes and enjoyed them immensely, participated, studied the material, everything. Later on, I think a couple of crucial decisions, I gave him some suggestions. He accepted them. Well, the easiest one to highlight is the collaboration with Gaevsky. I felt that if he was going to start playing tournaments like Norway Chess and things like that, well, he can't be preparing the way he used to, and he needed a full-time trainer. And I thought Gaevsky fit the bill, so connected the two of them together. After that, it turned out it was good that they started then in 22 because already, by the way, he had done this performance in the Olympiad in Chennai, which is a remarkable one. But nonetheless, it felt like he would have to go one step up. And it was good they started then because by now they seemed like a very well-oiled machine, but it takes time for everybody to align.
And Gayu was your second also for a while. What was the thought process behind giving Gayu to Gukesh?
Well, I knew Gajewski's skills, his abilities to analyze and find good ideas and so on. Also, he's someone with whom you can have a certain blunt conversation at some point, things like that. And his experience. These are all qualities I respected a lot. That's why I was working with him, and he's quite a close friend. It seemed that it would be easiest to request him and see if he wanted to carry it up. In fact, he agreed very quickly. And later, I think occasionally I would tell Gukesh not to worry and so on. But then I understood that mostly he doesn't need that advice. As you can see, he generally lands on his feet quite well. So.
And firstly, a big thank you from all Indians to WACA. You started the Westbridge Anand Chess Academy with Westbridge, and the goal was to have few top stars fighting for the top places and have a world champion. But now we're already there. So what's next for WACA?
In Gukesh's case as well, and by the way, we try this everyone. We try to fit in on top of their existing arrangements what they're comfortable with. So for me, it was always clear that luckily I had a very good relationship with Vishnu, with Ramesh, with Sham. So I'm able to interact with them and they with our fellows. But the idea is to slot in on top. Clearly the parents, Vishnu, had a good structure going. And we try to come there. And we will try to do more of that. We have about 16, 17 students, attending varying stages, and we'll continue to work, and hopefully there'll be some more.
And just my personal note on that was when he became the world champion, Gukesh was wearing the WACA thing, the coat, and it had the words Anand on the coat. So it was really nice that you were there with him when he won the title in a way.
So. Yes, very nice of him. And of course, Westbridge and WACA increased their support, and basically they fully sponsored his title run. The mental coach, Paddy, all the trainers, all this thing, full support for the whole year. In fact, if you look at the schedule, very often he would have 3 days between some Grand Chess Tour event and some other event, and he would have a quick camp, and we were able to help with all that. And clearly this is the culmination. So we knew that if one of the boys went or the girls went all the way, then we would have to increase our support a lot at the end, and I'm glad it came through.
And so you mentioned Chennai Grandmasters event. How important is that event on the India schedule? And of course, Gukesh wouldn't have been here without that.
Well, it has this historical connection that that Gukesh was able to qualify there, and basically all this could happen. But by itself, I think it will be a great addition to Chennai. You saw this year we discovered Arvind Chidambaram. And we're having a B tournament, so more people are able to take part, more opportunities, and still we get very interesting players from abroad. So it's nice that these chess traditions develop now here.
And after that, he qualified to the candidates and winning it on the first attempt and becoming the youngest challenger. Did you imagine him going to that level so fast?
I think I've already admitted that I knew it's possible, but I knew it's not possible also. I mean, or rather, it's not likely also. So I was this way, that way. Look, you give me the candidates in Toronto again, and you say, will you take the 7 players or will you take Gukesh? Of course, I'll take the 7 players. It's a better bet. But he did it, and already 1 by 2 is a better bet. But it's a very tough cycle, and there are no guarantees really for. There's no one who's so strong you just think, the odds-on favorite. There's always some uncertainty, but even there it was the same thing. He has these sudden things. Like I remember thinking, okay, Fabi's going to win this. We're going to have another tie break. And then I look away for 1 minute, I look back, and it turns out it's suddenly the result is coming. It's a draw. Then you think something went wrong with the site. You check and all this stuff. So it's the same thing happens again and again by now.
Yeah, and speaking of the match, Gukesh started with a loss. You had a brief moment with him in the lift. Can you share a bit more on that?
It was a brief conversation, as you can imagine. I wanted to say something. I didn't know what to say. So I said, I had 11 games and you have 13. And then my floor came. We kind of smiled and left. But normally he speaks so much more, but then he was a bit tense. So I understood he still need to relax before the game. After the game. So I thought, let's just keep it short.
And so speaking of comebacks, you have managed many bounce backs in your matches. So what's the secret behind?
Mostly you turn up and you play. It doesn't have to happen, but it won't happen unless you do that. You have to go there and try again. And we saw that Gukesh is excellent at this. He had, game 1 was when he fell behind in the match. Mm-hmm. Game 12 was just Ding equalizing. But in both cases, it's not a pleasant feeling. And game 12, there's very little time left. But Gukesh stuck to his approach all the time. His thing was to keep trying, taking risks and putting pressure. Even in game 13, he did this. Yeah. Game 14, he did it again. Everywhere, that was his thing. In fact, I think this was Ding's biggest mistake in the match. He had a good chance to put in some effort, put some pressure in game 14, and because he's better. But instead, first of all, his mistake was to try to make a draw, and second was to think that simplifying itself will produce a draw. But also, you get locked into a position a pawn down, mm-hmm. and you can't get it back. So you have to play the rest of the game with this pawn down. And it's not that easy. You saw that it can go wrong. Of course, there'll be 5 games which will be drawn from this position, but many that you will get lost. And it's kind of insane to do this in the World Championship.
So giving up the B pawn was a big mistake.
My own, for me, it feels very visceral because with Magnus in game 6, I just chucked a pawn. I allowed him to take on e4 and I took on d6. I chucked a pawn because that was an easy draw. Then a bit later, I sacked another pawn, and still after this, it's a draw.
Yeah.
And okay, we won't go into the details, but basically, I managed to still lose this game. Mm-hmm. It's so funny. I knew F and H is a draw, and I lost F and H against G. So, which really tells you. And then I understood that this simplifying to thing, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience, but after that experience, I can never suggest this strategy to anyone. You just can't do this.
We're talking about Paddy Upton. Did you have somebody in your team back then to help out with the mental stuff? And what role do you think he played in Gukesh's win?
No, I did not. My mental coach was Aruna in a sense. Mm-hmm. I knew that it would be easiest to discuss these things with her. She would understand my mood very well, and she knew kind of what makes me tick, and this was a good arrangement. In Gukesh's case, it seems that Paddy Upton gave him some specific tips, routines to follow, mechanisms to cope, that allowed him to stay focused the whole match. His behavior didn't vary much between game 1 and 14. Yeah. The same walk-in, sit down, but also the approach on the board, and sticking to it no matter what. This playing on in game 8, look, it's not right. You are worse. But still, a match is finally between two humans, and he showed that you can do this kind of thing. So his mental toughness, definitely benefited from the fact that he was very focused on it.